The ocean doesn't roar when it takes back what is its own. It whispers. First, a flooded street on a sunny day. Then, foundations sinking beneath homes. And soon, entire neighborhoods, abandoned not by choice, but by force. But the water isn't the only threat. The money is leaving faster than the people. Insurance companies are pulling out. Banks are refusing mortgages. Property values are collapsing long before the waves arrive. By 2030, some of America's most iconic coastal cities may not survive, not because the ocean swallowed them whole, but because their economies drowned first. Miami, New Orleans, Atlantic City. And 7 more that reveal a future most Americans aren't ready to face. This isn't speculation, it's happening now. And right now, we'll uncover the 10 US coastal cities that may not make it to 2030 intact. Let's begin. Miami glitters like a promise. A skyline of glass towers, neon lights glowing along Ocean Drive, music spilling from rooftops. It looks like paradise. A city people dream of retiring to, vacationing in, investing in. But beneath the surface, Miami is quietly drowning. Here, the ocean doesn't wait for a hurricane. On sunny days, when skies are clear, saltwater seeps up through drains and pools onto streets. Locals call it sunny day flooding. Imagine living in a city where the tides decide when your street is passable. By 2030, the problem won't just be water on the roads. It will be water in the economy. Miami sits on porous limestone, a sponge that lets the sea seep directly through the ground. You can build seawalls, but you can't wall off the earth itself. Engineers warn that as seas rise, water will bubble up from below, undermining not just homes, but entire neighborhoods. And the markets have noticed. Major insurance companies are pulling out of Florida. Homeowners watch premiums triple or vanish altogether. Banks hesitate to issue mortgages on properties that may be underwater before the loan is repaid. When insurance disappears, when financing dries up, housing markets collapse. The condos that once symbolized Miami's endless boom are turning into financial traps. Towers worth millions may become impossible to sell. Luxury doesn't mean safety when the ground beneath you is dissolving. And then there are the storms. Hurricane Andrew in 1992 was once considered the storm of the century. But in recent years, storms like Irma and Ian proved Andrew was just a warning shot. Each one stronger, slower, more destructive. Each one tearing at Miami's fragile defenses. The next direct hit could erase decades of rebuilding overnight. For the wealthy, there's always higher ground. Data shows a wave of climate gentrification, as inland neighborhoods on slightly higher elevation suddenly become premium real estate. But for working-class families, trapped in low-lying areas, there is no escape. They face a cruel equation: homes they can't sell, insurance they can't afford, and waters that won't wait. This is how collapse begins. Not with one catastrophic moment, but with thousands of smaller cuts. A canceled policy, a flooded basement, a for sale sign no one answers. Miami may still stand in 2030. The skyline may still shine in the Sunday, but beneath the surface, the foundations, both physical and financial, are eroding. And if Miami, with all its wealth, global attention, and glamour, cannot survive the rising tide, what chance do the rest of America's coastal cities have? New Orleans is a city that lives with ghosts, not the kind that haunt, but the kind that remind. Every cracked levee, every water-stained home, every empty lot is a memory of Katrina. In 2005, the city drowned, entire neighborhoods erased, nearly 2,000 lives lost. And while the waters eventually receded, the shadow never did. Today, nearly 20 years later, New Orleans faces the same enemy, only stronger. Rising seas, stronger storms, aging defenses. The city sits below sea level, cupped in a fragile bowl of levees and pumps. Billions have been spent to reinforce them, but the truth is unavoidable. The ocean is rising faster than the city can build. By 2030, even a moderate storm surge could overwhelm defenses designed for the past, not the future. And while the water threatens from above, money is draining away from below. Insurance premiums in Louisiana have soared. Entire companies have withdrawn. Families that rebuilt after Katrina now face a cruel choice: pay triple for coverage or go uninsured. Without insurance, mortgages dry up. Without mortgages, housing markets collapse. The numbers tell the story. Since 2020, more than a dozen insurers have pulled out of Louisiana. premiums in New Orleans are among the highest in the nation. For working families, the dream of owning a home is slipping further out of reach. For those who already own, their houses may soon be unsellable. And then there are the storms. Hurricane Ida in 2021 proved that no matter how much money is spent, New Orleans remains exposed. The storm's winds tore across the city, knocking out power for weeks. The levees held, but just barely. How many more times can the city gamble? The population has never fully recovered since Katrina. Entire neighborhoods remain half-empty, dotted with abandoned homes. Each storm chases more people away. Each insurance withdrawal makes it harder for them to come back. This is how decline takes hold. Not overnight, but in slow erosion. Families leave, businesses follow. Schools close. A city that once pulsed with jazz and resilience starts to quiet. New Orleans may still exist in 2030. The French Quarter may still glow with music. Mardi Gras may still flood Bourbon Street with color. But beneath the surface, the foundations, physical and financial, are crumbling. And if New Orleans, a city that has already learned what it means to drown, cannot secure its future, then what hope is there for the others still waiting for their first catastrophe? Charleston is often described as timeless. Cobblestone streets, pastel-colored homes, church steeples rising above the skyline. A city where history lingers in every square, every oak-lined avenue. But Charleston's past may outlast its future. The city sits on a low-lying peninsula where 3 rivers meet the Atlantic. That beauty is also its weakness. Tides creep higher each year. Heavy rains overwhelm drainage systems. Streets that once filled with tourists now fill with water. Locals have grown used to nuisance flooding, sunny days when downtown blocks vanish beneath the tide. By 2030, experts warn these floods may not be nuisances anymore. They may become daily life. And while the waters rise, the costs rise faster. Insurance premiums in Charleston have soared. Homeowners face bills that double or triple in a few years. Some insurers have stopped writing new policies altogether. Without coverage, families can't secure mortgages. Without mortgages, homes become impossible to sell. Property values collapse before the water even arrives. Charleston's historic charm, the very thing that draws millions of visitors, is also its greatest vulnerability. Tourism brings in billions each year. But what happens when floods shutter the very streets, hotels, and restaurants people come to see? When visitors cancel trips because storm warnings dominate the headlines? The city has invested in defenses, seawalls, pumps, drainage improvements. But experts caution Charleston may be fighting a losing battle. Engineering can delay the inevitable, not prevent it. And then there are the storms. Hurricane Hugo in 1989 remains etched in memory as one of the most destructive to strike the Carolinas. Since then, storms have grown more frequent, more powerful. A direct hit today could devastate neighborhoods already weakened by flooding and insurance collapse. Residents with means are moving inland toward higher ground. But for working-class families, for lifelong Charlestonians tied to homes passed down for generations, there is no easy escape. Charleston has survived wars, fires, earthquakes, and hurricanes. But survival against the sea and the financial unraveling it triggers may be its greatest challenge. By 2030, Charleston may still stand. The pastel facades may still line the Battery. Church bells may still echo across the harbor. But beneath the beauty, the cracks are spreading through the streets, through the homes, through the economy itself. And if Charleston struggles to hold the line, what chance do smaller, less prepared coastal towns have when the water comes for them? Norfolk doesn't often make national headlines. It isn't Miami's glittering skyline or New Orleans' storied culture. But quietly, Norfolk has become one of the most vulnerable cities in America. This is the home of the world's largest naval base, a hub of national security. Billions of dollars in ships, submarines, and military infrastructure sit here on the edge of the Chesapeake Bay. And yet, the very ground beneath them is sinking. Norfolk experiences some of the fastest sea level rise on the entire East Coast. In just the past few decades, waters have risen nearly 18 inches. Streets flood regularly, not just during storms, but even on calm, clear days. The U.S. Navy has already begun adapting, raising piers, reinforcing docks, spending billions to buy time. But even the military can't hold back the tide forever. By 2030, climate models warn parts of Norfolk may flood daily. And with the water comes financial collapse. Homeowners in Norfolk face skyrocketing insurance premiums. Some insurers have already pulled out, leaving families without coverage. Without insurance, banks won't issue mortgages. Without mortgages, homes become unsellable. Property values sink before the waterline reaches the front door. The effect ripples through the economy. Businesses close when customers can't reach them during floods, jobs disappear, tax revenues shrink just as the city needs more money to fight the rising tide. And then there are the storms. Norfolk sits directly in the path of Atlantic hurricanes. A single, strong strike could devastate neighborhoods, military bases, and infrastructure. Each year the odds increase, each year the storms grow stronger. For residents with resources, the answer is leaving. Higher ground communities in Virginia draw those who can afford to move. But for thousands of working-class families, relocation is impossible. They are left with homes they can't sell, bills they can't pay, and waters that will not wait. Norfolk may not carry the same fame as Miami or New Orleans, but its story may be the most sobering. If America cannot protect a city that anchors its naval strength, that houses critical ports and industries, then what chance do smaller, poorer communities have? By 2030, Norfolk may still exist on the map. The Navy may still dock its ships in the bay. But beneath the surface, the city is already fighting a battle it cannot win against both the rising sea and the collapsing economy. Galveston is a city built on sand and memory. A barrier island on the Texas Gulf Coast, famous for its seawall, its beaches, and its history of survival. But survival has never come easy here. In 1900, Galveston was struck by the deadliest hurricane in U.S. history. 6,000 lives lost, a city nearly erased from the map. Galveston rebuilt, but it never truly recovered its place as Texas's crown jewel. Houston rose inland, safer, higher, and stronger. Today, Galveston faces the same forces, only amplified. Rising seas, stronger storms, economic fragility. The island sits barely above sea level. Streets flood with heavy rains. Storm surges regularly push water over the seawall. By 2030, experts warn, Galveston could see chronic flooding that leaves parts of the city unlivable. And while the water threatens, so does the market. Insurance in coastal Texas has become a crisis. Companies have pulled out, premiums have spiked. For many families, coverage is simply unaffordable. Without insurance, banks won't issue mortgages. Without mortgages, homes lose value. A property market built on vacation rentals and second homes risks collapse. Tourism, Galveston's lifeblood, is just as fragile. Visitors come for beaches, piers, and historic districts. But when headlines show storm damage and flooded streets, cancellations follow. Each hurricane season means lost revenue, shuttered businesses, and jobs that may never return. And then, the storms. Hurricane Ike in 2008 devastated Galveston, pushing a massive surge that swamped much of the island. Recovery took years. Today, storms are stronger, slower, and wetter. A direct strike in the next decade could cripple the city beyond repair. Some residents are leaving quietly, selling while they still can. Others stay because they must, tied by work, family, or the hope that Galveston can endure. But hope doesn't stop the tide, and optimism doesn't pay the bills when insurance disappears. Galveston is a city defined by resilience. But resilience has limits. By 2030, the island may still stand, the seawall may still face the Gulf, the piers may still light up at night. But beneath the glow lies a fragile reality. A city, one storm, one flood, or one insurance withdrawal away from collapse. Boston is one of America's oldest cities, the birthplace of revolution, innovation, and resilience. Its harbor fueled centuries of trade. Its universities shaped the nation's brightest minds. Its neighborhoods carry stories older than the country itself. But even a city as historic as Boston is not immune to the tide. The harbor that once built Boston's fortune is now its greatest threat. Rising seas are creeping steadily into the city's future. Flood maps show that by 2030, large sections of East Boston, the seaport, and the Back Bay could face routine flooding. Streets that bustle with commuters and tourists may vanish beneath the Atlantic. This is not just a climate problem, it's an economic one. Boston is one of the most expensive housing markets in the nation. But as insurance companies reassess coastal risk, premiums soar. Some insurers are already scaling back. For homeowners, that means higher costs or no coverage at all. Without insurance, mortgages dry up, and without mortgages, property values falter. Billions of dollars in waterfront development are now at stake. Gleaming towers in the seaport, luxury condos overlooking the harbor, hotels built to attract global business, all threatened by waters that respect no investment. Developers sold buyers a vision of permanence. But permanence is a myth when the ocean is rising. The city has responded with ambitious plans: seawalls, elevated streets, green infrastructure to absorb water, billions pledged to defend the harbor front. But experts warn these solutions buy time, not safety. A single storm could undo years of progress. Boston knows storms. The blizzard of '78 paralyzed the city. Hurricane Sandy, though it struck further south, flooded the subway system and exposed Boston's vulnerability. In a future of stronger, wetter storms, the odds of catastrophe grow. Wealthy residents can retreat to higher ground, neighborhoods like Beacon Hill or inland suburbs. But working-class communities, especially in East Boston, Chelsea, and Dorchester, may not have the same options. They live at the water's edge, where risk rises fastest and housing security falls first. Boston has always been a city of fighters. It endured fire, war, and economic collapse. But against the rising sea and a crumbling insurance market, history offers no shield. By 2030, Boston may still be thriving on the surface. Students filling classrooms, fans crowding Fenway, tourists snapping photos on Freedom Trail. But beneath the pride, beneath the tradition, the cracks are widening. And if one of America's oldest cities, with all its wealth, knowledge, and power, cannot defend itself against the tide, what chance does any other city have? Savannah is a city that feels like a painting. Spanish moss draped over live oaks, horse-drawn carriages rolling across cobblestone squares, rows of historic homes that have stood for centuries. It is a city of beauty, history, and southern charm, but charm won't hold back the tide. Savannah sits on one of the lowest-lying coastlines in the southeast. Surrounded by marshes and rivers, the city is already on the front lines of sea level rise. What was once an occasional nuisance flood is becoming more frequent, more disruptive. By 2030, large portions of Savannah could face chronic flooding, not just after hurricanes, but on ordinary days. And as the water rises, the financial foundation crumbles. Insurance companies are retreating from the Georgia coast. Premiums have spiked, doubling or tripling in just a few years. For some residents, coverage is unaffordable. For others, it's simply unavailable. Without insurance, banks won't finance homes. Savannah depends heavily on tourism. Each year, millions of visitors come to stroll River Street, explore historic squares, and experience a city frozen in time. But when streets flood, when storm warnings dominate the news, tourists cancel. Hotels lose bookings, restaurants close early, shops board up. An economy built on charm cannot survive when charm is underwater. And then there are the storms. Hurricane Matthew in 2016 forced mass evacuations. Irma followed a year later, pushing water into downtown streets. Neither storm made a direct hit, yet both showed how vulnerable Savannah is. A stronger, slower storm could devastate neighborhoods, destroy infrastructure, and leave scars that may never heal. Residents with means are moving inland, buying higher ground homes in nearby counties. But working-class families, many tied to generations-old homes, have few options. They face rising costs, collapsing property values, and the knowledge that their city's defenses are temporary at best. Savannah has endured wars, fires, and economic hardship. Its resilience is woven into its streets. But resilience is not invincibility. By 2030, the oak-shaded squares may still stand, the river may still sparkle at sunset, and tourists may still come, but beneath the beauty lies a fragile reality. Savannah is living on borrowed time. And if even a city as historic, beloved, and carefully preserved as Savannah is left vulnerable, what chance do newer, less prepared coastal communities have when the tide comes for them? Virginia Beach is known for its boardwalk, its wide, sandy shores, and its role as one of America's most popular beach destinations. Each summer, millions of visitors pour into the city, drawn by sun and surf. But the same ocean that sustains Virginia Beach may also undo it. The city sits at the meeting point of the Chesapeake Bay and the Atlantic. It is one of the fastest sinking regions on the East Coast. Scientists warn that by 2030, Parts of Virginia Beach could experience flooding so frequent it disrupts daily life, not just during hurricanes, but on ordinary high tides. Already, residents are used to water pooling on roads after routine storms. Schools close, traffic snarls, neighborhoods are cut off. What once felt like rare events are now regular interruptions. And then there are the storms. Hurricane Isabel in 2003 left parts of the city underwater. More recently, Hurricane Dorian pushed destructive winds and surge along the coast. Each year, the odds of a stronger, slower, wetter hurricane grow higher. Virginia Beach is directly in harm's way. Tourism, the city's economic backbone, is fragile. Visitors don't come to wade through floodwater or cancel trips because storm warnings dominate the news. Hotels, restaurants, and small businesses depend on stable seasons. But stability is no longer guaranteed. Military presence complicates the story. Virginia Beach is home to major Navy and Air Force installations. Billions in assets and thousands of jobs rest here. Yet even the military has acknowledged the risk. Bases have raised infrastructure, reinforced shorelines, and studied retreat scenarios. But defenses buy time, not safety. Residents with means look inland, relocating to higher ground across Virginia. But for those tied to tourism, service work, or military life, leaving isn't simple. They stay, adapting as best they can, even as waters rise. Virginia Beach's boardwalk may still bustle in 2030, tourists may still gather on the shore at sunrise, but beneath the surface, the city is fighting a losing battle against tides that rise higher each year, storms that grow more violent, and a coastline that nature is slowly reclaiming. And if Virginia Beach, with all its popularity, its resources, and its military significance, struggles to secure its future, what chance do smaller, lesser-known coastal communities have? Atlantic City was once called the playground of America. A boardwalk lined with neon lights, casinos promising fortune, beaches crowded with vacationers chasing escape. For decades, this city was a symbol of leisure and chance. But today, the playground is sinking. Atlantic City sits on a narrow barrier island along the New Jersey coast. Rising seas and stronger storms pound its shoreline year after year. Floodwaters creep into neighborhoods not only during hurricanes, but even during high tides. Scientists warn that by 2030, chronic flooding could disrupt everyday life, threatening the city's future more severely than its past economic struggles ever did. The economic toll is brutal. Casinos, once the beating heart of Atlantic City, already face declining revenue in the shadow of larger gambling hubs like Las Vegas. Now, climate threats pile on. Flooding damages properties, drives tourists away, and raises maintenance costs for businesses barely clinging to profitability. Visitors don't gamble in a city struggling to stay above water. Hotels can't thrive when streets are impassable. Small businesses dependent on boardwalk foot traffic suffer every time a storm clears the crowds. And then there are the storms. Hurricane Sandy in 2012 hammered Atlantic City with surging waves ripping into homes and crippling the boardwalk. Billions in damages were left behind. Sandy wasn't the first storm to devastate the city, and it won't be the last. Nor'easters and hurricanes grow stronger, slower, and wetter each passing year. The next major strike could deliver a blow Atlantic City cannot recover from. For residents, choices are shrinking. Some families quietly relocate inland, searching for stability. Others stay bound by history, by work, or by the hope that this city can bounce back one more time. But recovery grows harder with each flood, each storm surge, each tourist season lost to fear of the weather. Tourism was once Atlantic City's lifeline. Generations came for the boardwalk, the concerts, the endless nights of gambling. But as gaming revenue declines and climate risk rises, the city's economy finds itself with fewer cards left to play. An economy built on chance is now betting against the ocean and losing. By 2030, the boardwalk may still stretch along the sand, and casinos may still glow with neon against the night sky. But beneath the lights, Atlantic City will be locked in a fight for survival against both financial collapse and the relentless Atlantic tide. And if America's playground is swallowed by the sea, it won't just be a city that disappears, it will be a warning that even the places we built to escape reality cannot escape the future. Key West has always felt like the edge of the world. The southernmost city in the continental United States, just 90 miles from Cuba, tourists flock for turquoise waters, pastel houses, and sunsets that feel eternal. But paradise here is fragile. Key West is built on a narrow island, barely above sea level. Surrounded by water on every side, there is no higher ground, no inland escape. When seas rise, the city cannot retreat. Already, flooding is part of life. Streets pool with salt water during king tides. Basements flood even without storms. Scientists warn that by 2030, parts of Key West could face chronic inundation, water creeping into neighborhoods month after month, until daily life becomes impossible. And then there are the storms. Hurricane Irma in 2017 pummeled the Florida Keys, leaving widespread destruction. Homes flattened, power lines ripped down, roads washed away. Recovery took years, and even then, scars remained. Each year, storms grow stronger, slower, and wetter. The next direct hit could cripple Key West beyond recognition. Tourism is the lifeblood of the island. Every year, millions arrive for beaches, fishing, and the famous sunsets at Mallory Square. But climate is rewriting the calendar. Flooding closes roads. Hurricanes wipe out entire seasons. Headlines warning of storm surges and evacuations keep visitors away. For an economy built on visitors, lost weeks mean lost livelihoods. The cost of living adds another layer of strain. Food, fuel, and supplies must all be brought in by road or ship. As storms batter infrastructure and insurance retreats from the Keys, the price of daily life climbs. For working families, it becomes harder to stay. For businesses, it becomes harder to survive. Key West has always been resilient, a city of artists, sailors, and dreamers who thrive on the edge. But resilience is not the same as invincibility. There are limits to how many storms a community can endure, limits to how many times you can rebuild when the ground itself is sinking. By 2030, Key West may still glow at sunset, tourists may still gather on Duval Street, boats may still line the marina. But beneath the charm lies a harsher truth. This island is one hurricane, one flood, one lost season away from collapse. And if America's southernmost city disappears beneath the sea, it will not just be the end of a place, it will be the end of an idea, the idea that paradise can last forever. From Miami's glittering towers to Key West's fading sunsets, America's coasts tell a story we can no longer ignore. 10 cities, each unique, each beloved, yet all facing the same relentless enemy. The ocean is rising, the storms are growing stronger, and the foundations, both physical and financial, are crumbling beneath us. Some cities will fight back with seawalls, pumps, and billions in defenses. Others will quietly empty, one family at a time. But the truth is the same. By 2030, America's coastline will not look the way it does today. This is more than water on the streets. It's homes becoming unsellable, jobs vanishing, cultures and histories washed away. What disappears first on the coast will ripple across the heartland next. The fall of these cities is not a distant possibility. It is already happening, slowly, silently, in real time. And the question we must ask isn't whether these cities will survive. It's whether America is ready for what comes after they don't. If you want to see where America is truly shifting, the places rising and the ones falling apart, subscribe now, because this story is only just beginning.